So I just wanted to extend Althea's catalogue of wayward examples of what can be done and what is done and the projects that are supported by speaking about a project that I felt very privileged to be a part of. And it's a collaboration between Banner Repeater and the Women's Art Library. So Banner Repeater, for those who don't know it, is an archive of artist publishing that's literally on Hackney Downs Platform 1 station. So it gets a footfall of like 4,000 people at rush hour. And as kind of sister project, so I should say that's artist run, and Amy Clark has really held that work together and pushed it forward. And now Amy is working together with Lizana and a team full of people on the Digital Archive of Artists Publishing, the DAAP, which is using open source data to share more widely some of the artist publishing that's in the Banner Repeater collection, but also working with other collections. And so we're working with the Women's Art Library to build a profile there. So this is the website that anyone can access. And the way we've built the Women's Art Library here is through browsing by category. So the category is Women's Art Library here. And you'll see that some of them are well catalogued, some of them are a bit sparse. It's definitely something that's in flux, with the invitation to come back and to flesh out where there's capacity. I think, hopefully through speaking about some of the examples, I can give you an idea of what the DAP can do. So we've been working in collaboration with artists. So these are all artists that we've been in contact with for this project. So Be Like Teflon is a publication by Jasleen Kaur, and it's a book that is now out of print, and it's only really available in collections in London and in Glasgow, where the artist is from. So for Jasleen, it was really useful to have this PDF function, so now she can point people to where they can access the book digitally. And I meant to bring it along with me because it's a stunning publication. It's got this little plastic jacket and it's filled with recipes. So there's this invitation to kind of bring it into the kitchen, splash it with your hot sauce. It's very much material to be held. So we discussed whether in making a digital version, should we have actually a separate record altogether that is the digital copy of this book. But then we also discussed that really this is about sharing it more widely, so having it all in one place so the reader can just go straight, follow that trail. So I think that's a really nice example of how different things that you prioritize, right? We're constantly prioritizing and making decisions, and being able to do that with artists is really special. So there's a description that's taken from the artist's website. There's this ability to assign multiple roles. So Jasleen was the artist, but also is the writer. And you create this kind of webbed community of practice where the designer, there's no hierarchy really. The designer, the editor, the contributors are all part of this community. And here we have copies and collections, the Women's Art Library. And this, we're going to have to talk about, Althea. So here we go. Sorry, that just shows that this is the copy that's in the Women's Art Library, because there'll be multiple copies from different collections, which we'll add. And here we've got a profile of the Women's Art Library with a description of the collection. And these can be editable by anyone. So you just need to make an account, and that's kind of the trust element. And it also does link out to Wikidata, because we're using Wikidata when we're building these profiles. And I thought it was quite interesting because in this kind of narrative, this is just the most recent iteration describing what the Women's Art Library can be or is, which is maybe quite different from how it appears on Wikidata, which describes it as an academic archive, a university collection. I'm hearing Althea gasp in the front row because this is like not the story. Yeah, it's not the story that we've heard. So I think this taking these tools back to tell it as we know it is really important. So I thought we could have a look at this File Under Female, the Bella Milroy's project that Althea's shared the material pamphlet with you. So here we've got the description of the project by Bella, taken from the artist's website. But we also ran these workshops with artists to kind of workshop what they might need from a catalog record, to also share the tools how to self-archive. There's lots of materials and tutorials. The invitation is open for anyone to upload their own artist materials onto this archive. And there was a really beautiful moment where Simrath was in the workshop and was able to add a text to the record for this project. So what it can do is it can hold multiple descriptions, and we describe this as kind of anecdotal histories or kind of a gossipy archive. So there's the artist's version, there might be an institution's version, there might be the publication version, and here Simrath has jumped in to tell her version of how Bella was drawn to her work and how she explored it, and this dialoguing that happens. So I guess I'm speaking through a room full of people who might also love metadata, and I love this kind of storytelling that happens through metadata. And what it also allows is this related works. So here Simrath has added one of her artworks, The Complete Promise, as a related work to kind of create this networked web of responsibilities, this like rhizomatic way that we're all holding and carrying each other in our practices, which I think is quite beautiful. And yeah, this is one that I've been very delighted to work with, The Value Form by Sharon Kivland. And here we've got the description that's taken from the publisher's website. And in terms of another description, we've actually used the transcript from in the workshop. So we asked artists to just take a few minutes to describe their publications. And we thought that this would be a way to kind of generate these more oral history descriptions of works. And then in another tutorial with Shama Khanna, she suggested, oh, well, if you've got the audio, why not use it? So I'll share Sharon describing her work. Okay.
I feared it might be me first because, of course, I've completely forgotten what publication, Jessa, you suggested. A quick reminder.
There's a few of yours in there. It was the value one that's in French and English. Do you know which one I mean?
No idea.
So Sharon, shall we come back to you, or do you need a bit more time?
No, I found it, but it sort of rather demonstrates the importance of archives when one can't remember one's own history. Because I have to say, I have very little interest in my own history, though as a Trotskyist, of course, I'm a keeper of history, but not my own. I'm a artist and writer. I've been also curator, God help me, translator at times, and I am, as the editor, note the capitals, I have Ma Bibliothèque, which is a small publishing house. I've also, to my great surprise, been called a poet on a number of occasions, which never ceases to astonish me. The book that emerges, La Forme Valeur, the value form, and it's a 16-page booklet that was produced following an exhibition in France, which were a number of wall texts from Marx, from Capital. The first bit, the bit everyone's read before he goes all economic and shit, you know, the bit that no one, even Marxists, hadn't read. Though they claim they have to, but they're always surprised when they come across the agricultural chapters. And the texts I'll describe it. I am trying to find a woman speaking in Marx's Capital, yet all I find is an object speaking the charming voice of a commodity in the chorus of goods going to market, which is, of course, Luce Irigaray. And the wall texts were in French, painted by a sign writer against a pink background. This is not quite the right pink in the book. The sign writer was called Monsieur Claude Monet, but he actually put two N's, but you know, it's one of those fortuitous things. And the phrase is, it's simply when the commodity happily is feminine in French. So it actually was pretty easy to find elle speaking in the translation. It's it. So it was the first in a number of works that followed in my rereading and rewritings of Marx. And it's also made after the packaging of Allure by Chanel, that using the gold background and the gold edging, which at the last moment I had printed. It was before digital printing came in, so anything you were doing offset cost a fortune. You couldn't do less than 500, or it wasn't worthwhile. And then you just had boxes of books forever until you opened the box and there were none left and you didn't remember selling any. But you don't have any. Again, the importance of someone else archiving your history, because it's too easy to give it away. Because history takes up far too much room. That's it. I'll pass over to someone else.
Yes, I mean, it doesn't need any explanation, right? Like all of the content is in there. We've only got 5 minutes left, so I wanted to talk about the binding descriptions, but maybe, yeah? Okay, quickly. Yeah, so another element of this project that I was delighted to discover was tucked away in a spreadsheet in Althea's SharePoint L drive somewhere was this spreadsheet with the most beautiful descriptions of the artist's books. And these far, far surpass what would be expected in cataloging a book. So this is a work by Anne Lydiat, a book called Without. And here we've got the artist description. It's really an exhibition catalog text. And she tells the story very generously of like what inspired the work, the context it came from. But in this image, it doesn't speak that much to what it feels like to hold the book, to touch the book, what might be inside the book. And I would love to also just read this short text out by Charlotte Proctor, who is now an archivist, actually the director at Lux. So wrote these texts as an unpaid volunteer at the Women's Art Library. In 2009, I think we tracked it down to. And yeah, so this is the text. A black hardbook book, cloth-bound, rectangular, landscape-orientated, approximately 26 by 21.5 centimeters. The book is covered with a fairly fine weave canvas or coarse weave cotton, with the title Without impressed upon the cover and into the spine, along with the artist's name. Inside, the book is held together with shiny brass screws. The pages are white and plain, except for the identical maple leaf design cut out of the center of each one, leaving a deep hole through the book. They are also perforated along the inside edge. The material is quite textured, but feels quite smooth to touch. The screws are cold and hard, and the pages are smooth, apart from the edges of the cutouts, which are sharp. Open the book, turn pages carefully, though they are all the same, or tear off a sheet at a time along the perforations. The sharp edges of the cutouts would be ruined by too much handling. The contrast between the white pages and the black covers and the leaf cutout. I just think these are like such tender, beautiful material descriptions we decided on instead of binding descriptions, and become this text that can animate something when, for whatever reason, you're not able to, hold the book in your hand.